Alright, welcome to another video, and in this video we'll be looking at the interface. That means what really matters, even though the UI is heavy, not so heavy, but in the UI, as we saw in the last video, that means in the installation video, you see that there are a lot of options, and we could easily get lost or overwhelming as beginners if we're just starting out. Okay, so we'll be looking at major the big four. I don't know if I call them big four, the key points where we should go to do things. So just the things that concerns us is what we'll be looking at in the video. But in time, what are the major things we want to see in this particular one? We want to understand the interface. What are the most important thing to us? And the first thing is, like I said, we'll just go to what really matters: file and preferences. If you're on Mac, you should have preferences directly, but if you're Windows, you click on file and preferences. However, if you see file on Mac as well, just click on file and preferences. If you're on Linux as well, you should also see file and preferences directly. And we'll see one thing we might want to do, which is the changing of the theme. Is it a light theme or dark theme? So go to preferences, that loads. Then we'll go all the way down. Let me just collapse all of this to miscellaneous. This is where we're going. So we'll collapse the rest. Alright, so we'll click on miscellaneous, and then we'll click on user interface. So right here, we can either change to classic or workspace. I'll keep it on workspace, and then we can come here to say dark. You can see the way it will look like. It gives you a preview of what it will look like. But for the contrast sakes and all of that, and because you have to see what I'm writing clearly, I'll keep mine on light. And you can change yours to system, your system default as well. And my system default is dark, so I'll just keep it on light. Okay, that is that about that particular place. Of course, you have some AI features there that you can go through to keep to set things up, but we'll not be doing that in this video. We'll not be doing that at all. That's one thing under the miscellaneous. You go to user interface, you change your light mode to dark mode or dark mode to light mode. This is something you might really want to do. Alright, and right here you can have your keyboard shortcut set to some other things as you wish. You can explore that yourself as well. Alright, so let's go to, we will not really go through all of this, right? Like I said, we're focusing on what really matters to us. Now, whenever you open your pgAdmin, this is probably the first thing you will see. Let me close this. Dashboard. This is what you'll see. And your server might either be collapsed or expanded. How do you know when it's collapsed? If it's collapsed, the arrow will be pointing forward just like this. The arrow is pointing forward. But when it's expanded, the arrow points downward like this. Okay? The arrow points downward. And when immediately you open the server, you'll be prompted to enter a password. You'll be prompted to enter a password, and this password is the same password you put in yourself during installation. Okay, if you didn't install yourself, say for any reason, maybe it was installed for you, or you can try some basic passwords such as user, all lowercase or maybe all uppercase and things like that, or you contact the person who installed it for you. But if you installed it yourself, you went through the previous video, link will also be added to this, so in case you missed that, you can go through it again. Contact the person to tell you what password they used for you. So once you put in the password, you can check on a box towards your bottom right, because when you expand it, it shows a dialog box pop up. Then you check the box on the bottom right that says save password, so it doesn't prompt you again, it doesn't ask you to put in the password again. All right, so of all these tabs up here, of all these tabs, dashboard, SQL, statistics, dependencies, dependents, and processes. Processes is another one that is important to us, so I'll click it, and here is where you get the logs of what is going on, the processes you execute within the session. Okay, and of course you understand that better when we do. Now, one example I can cite right now is loading data into your database. That means importing data into your database. If it fails, you get a log. If it's successful, you get a log. So if it fails, you can check what went wrong from the log you get right here. Okay. So we'll come back to server. Of course, I just have to click this again, and then it shows this. Ensure that you put in your password, you saved it, and then you get this. Now we'll expand database, and right here you'll see the list of all the databases you have. By the way, okay, I'll say that shortly. You see the list of all databases you have, and there will be one that will always be connected, as it is always online, which is Postgres itself. Consider it your local server powering the processes and functions running through on your machine. Okay, so you should not disconnect it, keep it connected that way, and the number of databases you have will be seen up here. Okay, I have 13 and yours should be 1 if it's the fresh installation, and the only one you have is what? Postgres. The same goes for server. I have just 1. However, you can create more servers, but I will not advise you create a local server group, because if you create a local server group, it will still contain the same thing you have here in that particular one, so it's pointless. So what you probably do when you want to create another server is, let's say you're a developer, a software developer, and you're using Postgres. You have a free or a paid hosting for your Postgres database. You can bring in, of course, with necessary credentials, bring in the server into your local environment, so you can also manage the database from here. Okay, if you're not a software developer, do not think much about what I just said and or disturb yourself about it. But if you are, you probably get the point of what I'm saying. All right, so I have 13. You probably just have 1, and to create a new one, all you have to do is right click, go to create, and click on database. The shortcut, as you can see, is alternate shift and N. Okay, alternate shift N. If you click it, what it does is it pops up this query, this dialog box, where you put in the database name, and I'll call it intro to SQL. So introduction to SQL, that's what I'll call it. And I'll hit save. Once I hit save, if you pay attention, just keep your attention, on the bottom right, you will see it says connected to database successfully. And I'll do that now. Don't worry about that tabs. We don't need anything to do there for now. Save. And it says connected to what? Database, or database connected successfully. And you see we have intro to SQL. Okay. Now you can see that it's taking the color as the Postgres, so that means it is online. But for others, they are currently offline. Why should you disconnect the database or keep it offline or online? Well, the entire database uses your system resources because it's a local server. Okay, so you might want to maybe save resource or keep things light by what? Disconnecting database you're not using at the moment. So how do you do that? You right click and you go to disconnect from database, and I'll click on disconnect, and you can see it's now has the what? Red icon on it, so, and it has turned gray. Now it's currently all offline. Okay, and if I want to bring it back online, okay, let me just go back to dashboard. It doesn't matter where we stay anyway. So if I want to bring it back online, I just have to tap it once, and then it's back online again. Now, quick one, what I said I wanted to say was that I just checked the previous video that I recorded for this interface thing was about 45 minutes long or so, but sadly there was no audio, and the database I created was introduction to Postgres. So it's quite painful though. There was no audio. I did not remember to select my microphone, so the video recorded but without any audio. Anyway, I'll just take this out so you also learn how to delete a database that you created. So I'll right click on this and I'll do Okay, before I delete it, let me show you something else. Now, what is the database itself? The way you have data, the way you have power bank. Power bank saves power or stores power. The bank, an actual bank, saves your money for you. When I say saves the money, I think the word should be keep your money for you. Okay, neutral word, keep or keeps your money for you. So you can keep money in the bank. In the same way you keep data in the database, right? And of course, the way you can still go to the bank, withdraw some money or make transfer, send it there, send it here. You can alter what you have in your bank. The same way with database. You can decide to see your balance. You can decide to check what is inside the database. You can decide to take out the database completely. That means like closing your account or whatever it is. Okay. Now, what is the database in context of Excel so that you can relate with it better? Consider it as an Excel workbook. In an Excel workbook, you can have many sheets, right? Sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, all the way to sheets as much as you want. Not as much as you want, that's the limit, but the limit you probably not exhaust it. Okay? And database, now the file name, when you open a workbook, you give a file name to that workbook. So the file name that you give to that workbook will be the same as your database name. I'm not saying that is what you should name your database. I'm giving you the idea and context of what it looks like in Excel. So let's say you open a new workbook now. The title will be book 1. Okay, the same thing, it could be database 1. You get the idea now. Now in database 1 or in book 1, you can have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. So I can also have table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, all till table n, right? So the same way you have it in Excel is the idea of what you have in SQL. Just the keywords that you use is what makes it slightly different. Okay, because here in Excel you call them sheets, but in SQL or in databases we call them tables. I hope that is clear. All right, now what is in our databases? Of course, I did not forget to delete this, but what is in our databases? Now, what should you concern yourself about? Should you concern yourself about this? No, for now. It's just keeping record of what is going on within your entire database. So do not worry too much about it. The one you should worry about at the top here will be processes, which I've seen. And right now, let's see. Where do we write our query? You probably notice that whenever you open the database, there's a place where you can write code. Probably in some videos you've seen before. So where do you write code in this section? All you have to do is go up, make sure you are clicking on the particular database you want to use. You can see I clicked on Intro to Postgres and I'm selecting it. I'll click on Query to or use your alternate shift key. If you're on Postgres version 17 or lower, you might not have this filter button. This might be your first button. The most important thing is that you check that it is showing Query to. So you click on it and it opens a new window for you, a new tab, not a window, a new tab with the same you have up there. You can close some of these tabs if you don't want them. Okay, you can close them and they'll go. Now you have a new query to where you can write code. Now notice that when we created a database, just to show you again, right click here and Alt Shift N, or you click on database directly. You put in your database name and you click on save. It shows a success message that it is now connected. Unlike, for example, MySQL, you have to write another query to use that particular database. Okay, you have to write another particular query to use that particular database. And yes, we have the option to do the same as well. I mean, to instead of right clicking and creating database this way, if you're good with command line, you can use your workspace to create a database directly. And if you're a wizard with the command line, you can also do that. Just select a server, select a database, click on open, and then you'll be able to do that as well. Okay, so back to where we were. Now I've opened a new query tool where I can write code. Before I do anything at all, it is always good to make sure you are in the right database. How do you know? Check the name. You check the name before your local server. Postgres is our local server. Check the name before it says intro to what? Postgres. So since this is the name of our database, and just like I said, we're about to delete this database. I don't want to use it. Okay. So that means I probably do not want to work in it. But accidentally, maybe when I open it, I just clicked on it unknowingly and I opened a new query tool. So that means whatever I write, any code I write in here will go into this database, not this one. But this is the one we want to use, intro to SQL. So how do I correct it? The beginner way to do that is, I'll now click on intro to SQL, go back up again and open another one. Now this gives me intro to SQL. But sometimes why this is not efficient is because this will be blank again. But I might have written some query in this tool, in this query space, and I probably want to carry them over into this particular one. So let me close this. Let me scroll. So what do? All I have to do is click on this drop down, and then I see new connection, and I'll come to database, and I'll select the one I want to use. So I'll select intro to SQL, and I'll click on save. It says by changing you lose all your saved data from the current connection. Do you want to continue? Yes, I want to. And yes, so if I have some query in the previous thing, it carries them over to this place. Then I can run them directly. All right, now let me delete this guy. Right click on it, and I'll see drop. You use drop first when you have cascading effects. That means you have a primary key and a foreign key. You are trying to delete a primary key table, but there's an existing foreign key table. It will not delete directly. Why? Because the foreign key is depending on the values from the primary key, right? We explained primary key and foreign key in the introductory videos. So I'll click on drop since it doesn't have anything. Oh, this is database. That's for table, by the way. That's for table. So I'll click on drop, and it's gone. See, the database is gone. Now I have intro to SQL, and this is here. This is where I want to work in. Now for you probably have something else in your interface which is called a scratchpad on your right towards this area. And a scratchpad is something you can consider as a note taker. You can just put some notes there, or maybe questions you want to answer. They don't run, they don't execute. They're just there for you to have personal notes. Okay. Query 2 is where this place is where we can write code that will execute. So how do you bring it back? Let's say accidentally you closed yours just like mine. We have a powerful option which is the same as what we have up here, reset layout. So in case you drag anything out of place, see, all of these things are draggable. You see them? I can bring it up here, I can bring it down there. See what I'm doing? I can bring this down here. So I can reorder things right here. And it's something I might not want to do, right? For example, I don't want notification to be at the top. And bring this here. And instead of redragging myself, or I probably accidentally close something, all I have to do is click on reset layout, and everything comes back to the way I want it. And right there, you see, I can just say this is a note taker. And can add question 1, Q1, type in something, answer this or answer that. Okay, you have, it's just a note taker, just side notes. If you don't want it at all, you can close it completely and it's gone. If I want it back again, it doesn't save. Note that it doesn't save. Just close it, resets layout, and then it gets back. All right, now right here we have where we write our query. Here we have query history. query history, you in the query history, just like your browser history. So previous query you have written in chunks, it's query by query. Okay, you can see them here and you can copy into your main query editor space. All right, we'll see some do's and don'ts about this when you're trying to copy once we start writing some query. So in case your Windows your software accidentally closed, your pgAdmin closed that accidentally, and you have not saved your query at all, you can go to your query history. You may be able to find some of the queries you've written, and then you copy them back into the query editor. So since we mentioned saving, how do we save and how do we unsave? Now right here we can write queries. So let's say, for example, I'll say create table intro. So I'm supposed to pass in the columns and all, yeah. And yeah, this is a query. If I take it out completely, you notice that nothing happened, right? You notice that okay, this is still showing. Okay, let me see, undo. Good. Now I used Ctrl-Z to go back to the scratch, like the beginning, and you can see that this button is disabled, right? So if I want it enabled, oops, I don't know what I copied. Ctrl-Y, undo. Okay, I'll just type it again. Create table intro. Then I'll put a semicolon. Now intro will be a sheet in Intro to SQL. Okay, now in this case, let's use a better name, SQL Basics. Let's put something like that, SQL Basics. All right, now this is what I want to name my table, and inside there I'll create some columns that I want the tables to have. So I can now save. I click on save. I click on save. Then you see I can give it a name. Just type a name. Then let's say intro to SQL, and I can click on save. I cancel that. I don't want to save it. Now, in case you reopen your query, okay, and you've saved your progress, and you shut down pgAdmin and you reopen again, you want to continue with what you were using before. By default, again, you know the drill. Click on the database you want to use, click on query tool. But of course, it will open onto you a blank query tool again. But if you have previous code or previous query you were working with before that you want to carry over, all you have to now do is what? Click on open. So if I had saved this and I come here, now of course this is no longer there, or probably still there, and I want to open it, I'll just click on open, and then I'll see the query I have right here. Okay, consider this the way you open an existing workbook. The way you open an existing workbook, something you're working on before, or a blank workbook. All right, so you can save, you can open, and of course these two buttons are what we'll explain next, which is the execute script and execute query. What is execute script? Let me write something else. Insert into SQL basics. Then I say values. Put a semicolon. Let's say write another one. Select from SQL basics. All right. So we have three queries now. This is a query, this is another query, this is another query. Okay, and the semicolon acts as a full stop in a statement, English statements or English sentence, right? So semicolon is our full stop in this case, but it is a semicolon. So that is how we end our statement. It's showing that this is a line of code, execute this together. This is another line of code, execute it together. However, we can break queries into separate lines. For example, I can break this one into separate line. You can do this. Of course, we'll still type in some things into the brackets, right? The parentheses. So, but this is still a single query as well. It is still a single query, okay? It is still a single query. That means we now have 3 queries: 1, 2, and 3. What does this mean for us? Now, a script is a combination of all queries. So everything from top to bottom will be a script. The first one is a query, second one is a query, third is a query. So everything combined together is a script. Now let's go back to the button. The first one says what? Execute script. That means when we run anything, we are using this button. It will try to run everything from the beginning. That means it will run this first, then run this again, then run this again. Even if we have executed it before. And if we have executed this before, and we use this to run the entire script again, this will throw an error. Why? Because it has created the table before. It cannot recreate the same table again. The same name with the same table, it can't. So that will throw an error, okay? What can you do instead? You can highlight whatever it is you want to run. Highlight this way and use execute script. So it will only capture, or it will only run what you highlighted. But if you don't want to go through the hassle of highlighting every time, then we use this guy, execute query. Now with execute query, you don't have to highlight anything. You don't have to do this to run. You don't have to do this to run. Okay, you don't have to do this to run. All you have to do is make sure your cursor, this guy that is blinking, right? The guy that is blinking, just make sure it is anywhere within that query. It can be at the end. It can be here. 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 As long as it's not outside that line. Now this is another line. So there's nothing to execute here. This is another line, there's nothing to execute, but it can be here, 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 here. As long as it's anywhere within that query and nothing is highlighted like this. Don't make this mistake of highlighting something like this. Just make sure it's just there blinking, doing nothing. Alright, then if you run this button, it will pick only that particular one and execute it. And how do you know? For the first time you are using this button, it will show you the particular query it wants to run, even though you have a lot of queries there in your script. So you can check the button not to show again, but if you want to always be sure and you want to always see what it's going to run for you, you can decide not to check it. Okay. Now, so that's that about that. We have this. Now you know the difference. Of course, we'll delve deeper into it when we start using it. Okay. So what are the important things you should also know? Do not forget I said when you run this again, the execute script, it will try to run everything from the beginning to the end again. And if you have executed this before, because of the permanent durability of Postgres, which is one of the features, you get an error saying it already created it, right? And two database or two tables cannot have the same name. Okay, so speaking of that, let's explore what we have below here. Now, data output is what you see. This tab automatically switches message and data. It switches automatically based on the query you execute. Okay. Now, data output shows you what you have inside the database, and the only time you will see anything here is when you run a query that has to do with select, which is a DQL. Do you remember what a DQL is? If you do well to comment it in the comment section below. Tell me what DQL is. And the only command in DQL, as we know, is, I say as we know because I believe you should have gone through the previous video. If you haven't, the link is in the description below. Do well to check it out. So DQL, which is select, that means when we run select command, that is the only time we get a data output. Select is how we get a data output. If I run insert or create, I only get a message. And the message can either be an error or a success. So it's either an error message or a success message. So if it's an error message, you see the error, you read it and you debug it. If it's a success message, you read it as well to know that, oh, okay, what you're trying to do is successful. Okay, now let's look at what we have below here. Notification is just the log of what you're doing. So what we have here is total rows. When you get a message output, or a data output, I mean, you'll see the number of records based on your select query. Maybe you filtered your data, maybe you didn't. You'll see the total number of records from your data output right here. And what is this guy here? Just a line and column. If I click on this, I'm saying column 1, line 1, column 9. Here, line 1, column 4, because this is line 1, right? You can see the numbering of the numbers. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. That's column 4. If I come here, that's line 4, column 5. So that's just it, nothing serious going on down there. Okay. However, based on your error message or a success message, let's say an error message, you also see, for example, it can tell you line 2 in your error message now. Not this. You can see line 2, error near, you can see line 2, then error near or at, so thing. Now, line 2, if it's a message output, is not these numbers you have here. Nothing is in line 2. The line 2 is based on the query you executed. And because we broke this out into 2 lines, this will be line 1 for that particular query, and this will be line 2 for that particular query. Of course, you understand this better when we start writing queries and we start showing some errors. You'll be able to understand how to handle them. Okay. What other important thing you should know is sometimes I might do this during the course of the video so that I can see my queries clearly, expand this, and it seems like the other guy is gone, right? Of course, do not forget your reset layout in case you get lost completely or you take anything out of place. But what is the easy way? If I expand this, I want you to see only the query, and if I collapse it, I want you to see both of them. Right, I can also expand this so that we can focus on the result or the output, and I can restore back so I see both of them. Alright, so these are common things and important things you should take note of. However, before we call it the wrap, there is also something else you should know. Now, once we create a table, what are the important things we should know in that lives in our database? Let's go. So let me drag this backwards a bit. Okay, this is perfect. Then I'll expand it. Now make sure only the database you're working with is expanded. Do not forget, if a database or if an option is expanded, the arrow points downward. If it's not, it points forward. Okay. So why is it important that you keep why is it important that you keep only the database you're working with expanded? For example, I want to go to tables, and somehow, because these are closed, I omitted this, or they might even be together, like after this is next, and then I'm already in another database. I'm not sure. I don't know. Then I check on tables, and I feel like, I just run this query. Right now, you can't see everything at the top again, right? You're saying, I just created a table. I can't find it. And you're seeing your query, you're seeing the success message, but you're checking here, you can't find the query. You can't find the table. Alright, that can happen, and sometimes you might be in the right database. All you have to do is right click and refresh. However, after refreshing, if you still cannot find it, then 2 things have likely happened. Yeah, probably 2 errors, or you've probably done something. And what are the 2 issues that will likely occur? This is not the right database you're working with. So remember, you just have to switch it. New connection, if you're not in the list, click on new connection, select the one you want, and re-execute your query. But if this is correct, all you have to do is just scroll slightly upwards to be sure you are in the right database. And somehow you see both of them were expanded and we accidentally enter the Postgres looking for what is not there. So you make sure everything is collapsed. So you make sure only what you want to use is expanded. Then you expand this, scroll the way down, expand tables, and then if you have any table at all, you'll find it here. If you can't, right click and then refresh. The table will appear. But we have not executed any of this query, so we don't have anything in here. So once we do, and we have a table, then we'll start to check inside the table what are also important that we should take note of. And yes, this gives you a good and basic introduction into the pgAdmin interface. Okay, now that you know this, get your mind prepared, go over it again, watch again, and in the next video we'll jump into practicals. That means we start writing actual queries. Until then, we'll see you again. Be good.